Hello. I'm trying this out with OBS, an open source broadcasting software that somebody else told me about, and seeing how it works. So we'll see how this goes. I would like to try using slides while I explain how I've used ImageJ and some of the ways you can use it, and do just a short tutorial type video with a little bit of my own side note tracks going on. So let me see if when I switch to scene 2, you can see the slides on the screen. I will go ahead and give this a test. Ooh, so right now, it looks like you can see my screen, but you can mostly see the software that I'm using to broadcast. So I will go ahead and check this later and see if this works. I used ImageJ in the past, and hopefully this slide is coming through here, at the Cornell High Energy Synchrotron Source back when I worked for the U.S. Naval Research Lab. We had a great team of researchers funded by NSF who would go up, and the U.S. Naval Research Lab, that would go up and do experiments at an X-ray facility at Cornell, and we would look at thin films, scatter X-rays off of a surface that we were actually changing in an low pressure vacuum reactor system. And then we would use ImageJ on the images we collected of that X-ray scattering. So there would be a detector, there was a camera that would capture the image of scattering off the surface based off the X-ray intensity. And so the images that you're seeing here are just in general definitely modified to show some things happening over time and color shaded rather than just being the initial capture, which was in black and white. And ImageJ was an excellent tool for me for these images. And even though I don't plan to do a full tutorial on exactly what I was doing with these, I want to mention that the power of ImageJ is that you can grab all kinds of data, all kinds of statistics with an open source software. So ImageJ really helped me out, and I love open source software. So I wanted to explain another use for it that a lot of people that I know have done, which is even to try to use it to analyze particles, and also to just tell you how to get it. And so when I introduced this, ImageJ is available for free. A lot of people work on it. It has a lot of utility. It runs on Linux, Mac, Windows. There's a lot of documentation for it, has a whole bunch of plugins, and the starting point for me is to go just get the actual program. So I have the link that I will put in the description below, and I'm going to click on it now so you can see it come up. And so ImageJ here is definitely downloadable for the general public, and you can choose your operating system. I'm going to go ahead and minimize this again and show that when I first installed it, I will skip ahead on the slide. I took a screenshot when I realized I actually had it, because it's easy to install, but initially I didn't realize how tiny the little window that ImageJ has of when it's actually running. So I didn't realize I had installed it initially. And so this is what ImageJ can look like on your screen, but it might be pretty small and a little tiny window on the screen. And it won't generally take up the screen. This is a bunch of tools you would use to process an image that you are opening or importing. So you can also update it very easily once you've installed it to make sure you have the very there version of it. Even if you didn't install the very latest version, that will get you into the latest. I'll step back a slide and say there are different major uses of ImageJ that have all kinds of add-ons in the code that people have developed, again open source, and many uses of this. There's a lot of use of this software in astronomy. There's a lot of use of ImageJ with other plugins for 3D imaging of all kinds of things. There's microscopy of different sorts that can be done. So there's a lot of different communities that use it in different ways, and the reason I mentioned I'd like to do particles is that that can be quite challenging, and I thought it was a reasonable way to just start interacting with sharpness and contrast. So you could use definitely your own pictures and go through just experimenting with it, and this would be just a how-to of playing with the different types of things. So you could grab this if you wanted to replicate exactly what I'm doing, and go copy this picture from the internet. I always recommend that you download something and then save a copy and then make a new version that you play with in case you have any issues with making the picture different than you want and then accidentally overlaying your last one. Misclicking, not your friend. And so one of the things you can do, if I skip back to my previous slide, is, pardon me, you can go to Image or Process or Analyze. Analyze tends to have a lot of the statistics. Process tends to have some other things. And Image, you can do the image, adjust, and the threshold, and change all of these different parameters. I'm going to keep it in black and white here, and just change contrast and brightness. And then try to analyze the particles under the Analyze. And so this looks ridiculous. There's obviously noise all over the place. It didn't work at all. Circularity, we'll get into in a minute, but it is counting whatever it is that I pulled up. It'll analyze these nonsense particles for you. So you can change the image contrast and try something else and then see what pops up. And in this case, just to mention circularity, if you had almost a nothing area, you would have very little circularity. So, you know, a line wouldn't be a circle. A triangle would be closer, but a square would get even closer, and so forth and so on. And so that's a measure of what you have in shape towards circle. And again, you can actually go into a mode where the particles in this picture are not easy. I deliberately chose a picture that was not easy, and make them so that you have white on black, which makes things, in this case, quite a bit easier. So playing with this, you can see there's a lot of things you can do, and when you analyze them, you can see what it thinks that this is one big blob of a dot, and that's usually, in most cellular cases, not what you want. So again, I'm just showing a progression through different values, and that there's quite a few things you can do from the very start. And like I said, once you have some knowledge of what ImageJ does, you don't have to do this manually every time. You could set it up for a series of pictures that were very similar and somewhat automated. But this is actually a reasonable analyzed particles output for a lot of people's purposes with a few problems. So it's possible to analyze whole stacks of images and automate it and spit out all kinds of other numbers, not just particle information, and take areas of interest. In this case, this is the black and white image of scattering off of a surface. It's not adjusted very well, so it's very faint that you even see that there is some kind of X-ray hitting the detector. And it's just the very start of what could happen. I do plan to do a later video with more detail, but I want to point out that ImageJ as a picture editing, or sorry, a picture analysis program is very, very useful and powerful, and can be integrated with so many other things that it makes it extremely useful. So thank you for your attention. I'll go back to trying to get back to the video. The last slide there was something I had thought I deleted, so I just skipped right past it. But thanks again, and I will see if this video actually works out and if I want to keep doing it this way.